You could have, I could speak to dentists, morticians, doctors, engineers, any group I'm speaking at, I'm going to talk about rental real estate. Because remember back to the beginning, what is the theme? My successful clients have some sort of rental real estate. Now let me put you at ease right here. I'm not saying every rental real estate is that cute little single family home, blah, 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 blah. No, rental real estate could be military housing. It could be single family homes. It could be duplexes, triplexes. It could be commercial rentals. It could be storage units. It could be lease options, subject twos, long-term hold with a traditional mortgage. It could be IRAs or 401ks owning rentals. There's all sorts of variations. And of course, what you're learning at Renatus is how many different acquisition strategies there are, which is so exciting. Oh my gosh. I have so many clients that once they find Renatus, because I try to introduce my clients to Renatus too, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the oasis of finding good real estate sound strategies. So you're in the right spot for that. But I just don't want you to think that I'm saying everybody has to fit into the same mold of single family home rentals in your backyard. They could be around the country. They could be in a market that's better than the one you live in. They could be near your grandma. They could be where your kids are going to college. I don't know. So just relax. Don't stress out when I say buy rentals. Just realize it's part of the master plan. And as long as you put that karma out there, you put that positive energy that you are going to buy rentals someday, what happens? It starts to happen, right? You start to bump into the right education, the right people, and the right projects. And as you're getting out of debt, you're building cash reserves, you're building your business, you're maintaining your day job, if that's part of the equation, rentals will naturally happen in the right way. So don't overthink it, don't stress out. But here's my mantra. Here is my recommendation that many of you have heard on my radio show, to newsletters, to blog articles for years. Make the goal, here's my challenge, make the goal to buy one rental every year. Just make the goal to buy one rental every year. And as you put that energy out there, it'll start to happen. I want you to look at 50 rentals before you buy one. Don't buy the first thing that comes along. Don't get emotionally attached. As Chris Albin, how many of you are already taking his classes in this essential course, the guy's a genius. I love him. I sit in the back of his class and take notes. He sits in the back of my class and takes notes. We'll go to dinner and we're fighting over who we are going to talk about, because I'm like, dude, you got to teach me. He's like, no, let's talk taxes. He's so awesome. I'm just like you out there trying to buy rentals. But what Chris Albin will tell you again is you're not buying a house. You're not buying a rental. You're buying numbers. And you're buying numbers that have to make sense on paper. So many clients look at this cute little house. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. I could live there. Let's buy it. No, 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 no. Run the numbers. Oh, this meth lab, it looks just terrible. I could never. The numbers are great. Okay. So now I know there can be risk in rental property. I know that it can be stressful, and buying bad rentals, it's going to happen. As you build your portfolio, you're going to make some mistakes. But I want to give you some suggestions. I want to give you some approaches from a tax standpoint and from this experience that I have of consulting so many thousands of clients every year. So please put your guard down and just soak this up. And I challenge you to make that goal. Now, a couple of these guys came and said they had to go to work. And so this crowd over here on the side, don't feel like you're out there, in La La Land. This is wide open for you. You can come sit up here if you want. I don't know if that, I don't want anybody at home to think everybody's leaving. They're not. We're packed, it's standing room only in the back, but so come on up and sit here if you want. All right. Now, all righty. Here's my 4-quadrant analysis. Thank you so much, Christian. So here's something that I'm really committed to, and I've been teaching this little slide for years. And so for some of you that have heard me give these examples, I'm going to use generally the same numbers to make a point, but I want you to memorize this. I really want you to use this little demonstration I do, even if it's the 5th time you've heard me or seen me do it, so that you can pound it out on the hood of your car. You can talk to your partners, your investors, or your lenders, or family members and teach them this concept. My kids have been watching me present this for years, and my son this year came up and said, Dad, I really want to buy a rental property. He's going to college, and he's like, I want to buy a rental and rent the rooms to other college kids. And I'm like, yes, give me a hug. I was like, he's seen the light. But I didn't want to tell him to do it. I didn't want to do it for him. I wanted him to catch the vision and go, Dad, help me do this. And it's exciting. And so this year our goal is to help him get into a rental property, and I'm really, really excited about it. So if I could get my kids through college debt-free with a small business and a rental property, oh my gosh. How many of us wish our parents were teaching this when they were their age, right? Oh, just so, yeah, so you've got such an opportunity here to help your family, whether they're nieces or nephews or grandkids, a brother, a sister, a parent. And you know, I'm going to use this moment to digress to this point. This was on NPR the other day, just another little show they were doing, where they were doing the 60 over and unemployed. That they've got their own little class now, like this label, 60 and over and unemployed. And they were on the show going, what are we going to do? And I can't get a job, and I've been sitting around and unemployed. And I was like, what? And I was just like, I went insane. So I did my own show on it the week later, and I totally twisted it around and was like, oh my gosh, 60 and over, and the sky's the limit. Because this is your opportunity to take that all those life lessons and those skill sets that you've learned during your life and start buying rentals and getting into business rather than feeling you have to work for someone else. Now, it's scary that I have clients that are 60 years old and their savings is gone because they paid for all their kids' colleges. And now they have no retirement. And they're like, I get phone calls and meetings all the time with clients around the country that are like, hey, Mark, we're ready to focus on our retirement. We're in our 50s. And it's scary and it's sad. So you yourself have a chance now to hopefully network and partner and work with others that are desperate for what you're learning. And so this is a really powerful little section that I want to talk about. And that's the 4 benefits of rental property. 4 benefits of rental property. So I'm going to do my best to diagram this with a
I just don't like using the mic, that's all. But I'm being recorded tonight, so I will use it because I've been told that I'm going to do it. So,
does he sound better anyway?
A little more bass to it or something. All right. Well, how's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Awesome. My name's Kevin Sparks, and I'm actually one of the co-founders of Positive Impact Real Estate Investors Group. And who we are is we're a group of advanced, intermediate, and beginning investors. And what we do is we teach, train, mentor, and support each other in reaching our financial goals, okay? Let me give you just a little bit of background. And I know several of you I met this past Saturday, and some of you, this is the first time you've seen me and I've seen you. And that's totally cool, totally fine. We actually did a walkthrough on a property this past Saturday over in Lake Elsinore. A property that essentially had about $100,000 in spread on it. So not a bad profit potential for a property up there. Would you guys agree with that? Just without a lot of detail, quick show of hands, who walked through the property with us on Saturday? Okay. Impressive or not? Pretty cool stuff, right? And the reason we did that walkthrough, and typically that's our first introduction to you guys and your first introduction to us, is because a lot of people that I know, at least, I remember when I was first looking to become a real estate investor, I wanted to find people that actually did it. Like actually invested in real estate. Not somebody that came in through like a seminar and showed up in the backyard at a hotel room and then talked to me for a couple hours and told me why I need to go somewhere else for a seminar. and pay them a bunch of money to leave my home, go somewhere else, learn from people, spend money, teach me for a few days, then come back home, and then not actually help me do it. By the way, has anybody ever gone through that process? Right? Yeah. And the challenge with that is the part of, okay, they taught you for a couple of days, 2, 3, 4, 5, depends on how much you paid and what you went through. But then you're all by yourself, for the most part, right? What do you normally have to be able to access the original people that were trying to teach you how to invest in real estate? What do they normally give you to work with? 800 number, that's awesome. By the way, don't we hate an 800 number if our computer crashes? How many of us love calling the 800 number when the computer crashes? Or doing the chat online, right? Drives us nuts. But there are people out there that will spend $40,000 to $60,000 on average for real estate investing boot camp, and they won't put up with it for their $2,000 computer. They get all ticked off. How do you think people feel after they spent $40,000 to $60,000 and they're in the middle of trying to negotiate a transaction on a fix and flip or do a wholesale deal, and what you get is an 800 number with the same kind of customer service you get when your computer goes down? Is that exciting? No, that doesn't really work very well. And that's why very few people that spend a lot of money to go through a seminar like that rarely get around to actually doing real estate investing deals, because they don't have people to work side by side with who've done it before and help them succeed at it. We do things a little bit different. So we have some folks here tonight. What we did is we did a walkthrough on Saturday, probably 40-ish people that were there maybe. For you guys, you remember how crowded we kind of were? And we had about half of you come see us this past Tuesday over in Carlsbad, because people drove from like North San Diego County, San Diego, to come see what we were doing. And then we had people from this part of the, world over here in Riverside that were a little bit closer, and they went, and we said, hey, we're gonna make it easier for you though this time around to find out who we are and what we do and what it looks like to work together with us. So we basically gave you 2 options of when to come see us, because we made some promises to you on Saturday about sharing some information with you. Those of you who weren't at the walkthrough, I'm going to apologize right now, okay? Because I'm going to treat the room as if you had been. I just need to do that to keep my promise to the people that came. Is that fair enough? All right. If you haven't been to a walkthrough, we're going to do one this Saturday, so you can have the same experience that these other folks had. Whoever invited you to be here, ask that person for the information about this coming Saturday, and make sure that you get an invite to go to that walkthrough with us. But they're super cool. My wife and I, and here's my wife Kirsten, say hello. She and I just moved here December 30th from the Phoenix, Arizona area. By the way, anybody been to Phoenix? Okay. What do we know about Phoenix? That was quick. Yeah, I mean, there's things like that. Main point is it's hot. I mean, that's the first thing you think, right? Here's the interesting thing about Phoenix. This time of year, it's essentially identical to right here. You guys get that? It's nearly identical to what you guys have for weather right now. So it's actually pretty nice for about 2.5 months. Maybe 3 to 3.5 months if you're super lucky, all right? But here's what I dealt with for the last couple of years over in Phoenix. It's hot, like you said, it's hot. And I grew up in that area. I went to high school in that area, so I've lived there a long time. I lived away from there for a while too. But most of my life, I've lived there. And here's what happened. My wife and I were talking and said, hey, we've got a business out in Phoenix related to real estate investing. We have a team of over 200 investors out there. When we can get that team to the point where it'll run itself with or without us, we're going to get out of the heat, right? And we got more motivated over the last 2 years than ever before, and I'll tell you why. Because 2 years ago, on record, Arizona got the second, it wasn't the number 1 spot, it was the number 2 spot for Arizona, like in its history, right? So a couple years ago, Arizona had more days 110 or hotter than it had ever had before, except for 1 year that was like back when cavemen were here, right? So that was a couple years ago, and I'm like, honey, we really got to kick this thing in gear, and we really need to get this team moving the way we want and get some more stuff accomplished because we want to get out of the heat. Last summer beat the year before's record. I don't know about this global warming thing. I don't know. All I knew is like, okay, honey, by spring this year, we are going to not be there. And we became empty nesters a little bit over a year ago. So we didn't actually come here to California for business purposes. A lot of people, when you make a move before you're like full-blown retired, right? You mostly do it for job purposes or sometimes for family reasons, right? We made our choice because we wanted to. And so actually right now we're over in Encinitas, okay? I think that's like eternal spring. Except what happened the last couple of weeks here? Where the heck did this winter stuff come from? It was actually a lot colder than I thought it was going to be. Most people told me that's not normal. We need it. I'm glad for some of the rain and stuff because I didn't really want to be here and have the whole place catch on fire, which that's what seems like, right? So I'm like, bring us some rain so if we do move here, you know, hopefully we're far enough south that the earthquake thing doesn't get us, but we didn't want to light it up, right? And be like the 4th of July over in Encinitas. So anyhow, spending some time with you tonight because what we did over in Phoenix is part of the reason why I'm in the front of the room for you guys right now today. October 2015, we had an experiment that we launched over in Phoenix. When I say we, myself and some business partners. And here's essentially what that experiment was. It was myself, a partner, John, with 27 years full-time real estate investing experience. For most of you, do you consider that to be a pretty long time? Okay. Another partner, Chris, he's got 37 years experience. Would you consider that a good amount of time? And then I had another half a dozen partners with anywhere from 5 to 20 years experience as real estate investors. And collectively, we had put together a mastermind team. Anybody know what I mean when I refer to a mastermind? Let me kind of explain. If you've ever read a book called Think and Grow Rich, anybody ever heard of that book? Okay. He talks about masterminds of people coming together like entrepreneurs or like-minded, but it's really where you come together. It's not like people work for you or whatever, but you take high-level people and you share ideas with each other, and ultimately you hopefully come out of there with something greater than what you started with, right? So we had this mastermind going on of successful real estate investors that had we had overlapping skill sets, but we also had different skill sets. And here's what I mean by overlapping skill sets. Some of us were great at fix and flipping, wholesaling. Some of us are great at multifamily investing. Some of us are really good at commercial stuff. Some of us are good at land development. Some of us are better at things like tax leads, deeds, notes, and things like that. And then many of us know how to do multiple things. So we had this overlap, right? But we pretty much wanted to make sure that we could cover dirt to skyscrapers and everything in between. So that's what the mastermind was put together out of. And we decided to do an experiment. And sometimes when you do an experiment, you know, have you ever experimented with something that like it blew up and made a mess? I have. Have you ever experimented with something, though, that turned out to be even more awesome than you could have imagined? That's kind of what happened. We said, look, we know there's a lot of seminar companies out there that will train people how to invest in real estate, although I don't know how you can train someone in 4 to 5 days to do it and actually successfully turn into real estate investors. But there are companies that are willing to do that, and certainly they're willing to happily have you pay them a lot of money for the privilege, right? But we said, look, we don't want to be trainers of real estate investing, because we're busy doing real estate investing. Does that make sense? Have you ever asked that question, if so-and-so up there makes so much money, why the heck are they out there trying to trade people out to invest in real estate? So we're in the same boat. But we said, look, a seminar is not how you train somebody, but it also doesn't have to take like 40 hours a week to do it either. Does that make sense? Because when somebody's brand new, you need to give them some things to do, and then it's kind of return and report, and then send them out to do some more stuff and return and report, and then go out together and do some stuff, right? All the things that I've ever learned how to be good at in my life wasn't because I sat in a seminar for 3 to 4 to 5 days. How about you guys? The things that I'm good at are things that I did side by side with people over a reasonable amount of time, and then I got good at it. That's what we do at our jobs and careers, right? And then eventually we're the ones helping other people do it because it becomes autopilot for us. So collectively, as a mastermind, we said we want to help other people be real estate investors, but we don't want to put a lot of time into this because we're making too much money over here. What we collectively decided was we would give 1 to 4 hours a week of our time. But remember, you have half a dozen people with a lot of full-time experience. They've done it for years and years and years and years. So if you were to take 6 or 8 people and they all gave an hour, how many hours is that to the cause?
16 hours.
On average, about 16 hours. Could we take a relatively small group of people in 16 hours, a week worth of time and help them turn into real estate investors? Sure we can, right? Because even when you went to your job and you got trained, did anybody spend 40 hours with you during the week? No, of course not, right? There's things you have to go do on your own, and then there's things you do together, right? And there's things that you might have to go study and up on, and then come back and ask questions, and then go out and do it together, right? The same process for training people how to do anything was our brilliant experiment to see if we could do that for people and help them become real estate investors. Here's the cool thing. We made up our minds that we would help a handful of people, and we wanted to see what would happen. The average person that came on board and let us help them through that process, within 60 to 120 days were involved in some kind of profitable transaction. Is that pretty cool? The commitment from the people was essentially this. You need to be willing to spend at least 2 hours a week with us. Okay? Maybe 4 hours. We're going to give you some homework and things to do. You have to do that stuff, but you're going to actually physically spend a couple 2 to 4 hours a week with us. Does that make sense? Yes. And you're going to commit to do that not for 3 weeks. We actually took a group of people. We took 35 people who had never invested in real estate before. None of these 35 people. We said, we want you to commit to 5 months for 2 to 4 hours a week. Now, if something comes up in your life where you miss 1 or 2, maybe 3 weeks in this process, we can live with that. Stuff happens. We get it, right? But if somebody's serious about being a real estate investor and having success with it, you can't just like, I'm going to do 1 this week, I'll show it, and then 3 weeks later, maybe, and then another 5 weeks later, maybe, right? You'll never get there. It'll never happen at your job. If you're an athlete, it won't happen in your sport, right? You have to have some consistency with it. 35 people who had never invested in real estate before collectively said, yes, we'll do that. So we put together what we referred to as a mastermind. It was a little different. We called it our mastermind and study group, but this was for wholesaling and fixing and flipping. Here's the coolest part. What we did, though, is we took my partner, John. Remember I said he had 27 years full-time experience, right? Fix and flip expert. Been involved in thousands of transactions over that period of 27 years. Matter of fact, we asked him to start tracking what he was doing so he would have numbers that we could share with people. His last 204 flips, he knew exactly how that worked out. He actually had been investing in Washington State and in Arizona, and in those 204 flips, he knew this. He knew from the time he had a property under contract to the time he put a profit check in his pocket, his average was 110 days. Okay? He also knew this, his average profit per deal on those houses, and we're not talking $500,000, $1 million houses like the average prices around here and in San Diego, right? But his average profit was 36 grand. That was also without using any of his own money or credit. So how much money did he have in any of these deals that he made profit on? Okay. That person said, my partner John said, I will help lead this mastermind study group for fix and flip part of it. Okay, we said, well, this was a fix and flip / wholesale mastermind study group, right? What did we do? We took 2 other people on the team, a boyfriend, girlfriend, who had actually only been investors at that point in time for 18 months. But they originally found us when we started our experiment and didn't know anything about real estate investing. Their very first year, they completed 13 deals they got paid on and had 7 more in escrow. 6 months later, they'd completed 21 additional deals. And by the time they were 2 full years into it, year number 2, they completed 44 deals. That might sound impressive, and it is, right? But it's not as impressive as you might think, because the person that was teaching them and helping them originally turn into real estate investors as wholesalers, he's had years where him and his team have done over 1,000 deals. But he's done it for 37 years, right? So it sounds impressive, but if you're being taught, trained, mentored, supported by people that have done this stuff before, your odds of success go way up, so shouldn't your results go up too? And you're not just learning how to do a transaction, you're learning how to create a business and build a machine. Okay? I know I said a little bit of what I just said on Saturday. I'm saying this because I know we have people in the room tonight that didn't get to spend Saturday with us. What we are doing here right now is we're the genesis of putting together here in this area, over here, Murrieta, Temecula, over in North County, San Diego, and San Diego area, what we already built and put together in Phoenix. And we're saying, if you like us and we like you, we might have the opportunity to participate and do this together, if you want to. Cool? I want to bring somebody up here right now. Kendall, do you mind coming up for a moment? So part of what made what we were doing over in Phoenix work is, remember, I had that mastermind team of people. And by the way, that grew. Right now we have about, I checked the other day, yesterday or the day before, 218 people on our team over in Phoenix now. It's grown. Well, of course it's grown because people find out their friends, neighbors, whoever turned into real estate investors, they're like, who taught you how to do that? Like, they did. Well, I want to do that too. Well, would you introduce me to them? And as long as we can handle what we're doing and get people that are committed to doing it, we're happy to help other people do that too. Here's the cool part about this. We still, from a helping standpoint for that, myself included, we still never had to put more than about 1 to 4 hours a week of our time into helping that happen. Is that cool or cool? So it's okay, because people say, again, why would you do it? We're willing to give 1, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours. We're just not going to give you guys 40 hours of our time. We're going to do real estate investing with our other 38 plus hours that we're doing, right? I want to introduce you to Kendall, because Kendall over here he's not the only one, but he's part of this kind of support system we're talking about, because Kendall's able to help people do similar things to what my team in Phoenix was doing, because he's done it already. Okay? How many fix and flips have you done, you and or with your partner?
I've done over 350.
Where?
All over. I mean, a bunch of them, a boatload of them here in Southern California, about 125 here in Southern California. I've done them, the vast majority, the rest of them have been out in Illinois, but I've also done deals up in Utah. So you can do it anywhere. You can live here and do deals anywhere.
Okay. So would that be okay if that's the type of person that's helping support you somewhat? Now, he's not going to do it for you. Let me make that clear up front. Okay?
Now, let me make that clear up front. I won't do it for you.
Okay? We're talking about support. We're not talking about charity. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, just want to make that clear. I want to bring Kendall up here to share that. And then over in Carlsbad, some of you guys got to meet Daryl last night. Him and his partner in the last 9 years have done about 500 deals over in San Diego area. Okay? Anyhow, Kendall, for those of you that have already had the opportunity to see essentially what we're going to present tonight, you have a special opportunity right now. If you haven't seen what we're doing tonight, and if you're like, well, what is it? I don't know if I have, then you haven't seen what we're doing tonight. Okay, so that already answers your question. But if you have seen what we're doing tonight, you're going to have the opportunity right now, like Kane, you could go do this, okay? Ed, you could go do this. Steven, you could go do this if you want to, all right? You're going to actually go over there with Kendall right now, and he's going to share some additional information with you and some really cool things related to what you've already seen. It's just going to go more in depth on it.
In other words, we're going for donuts.
The rest of you are stuck with me. Actually, you're stuck with me and a partner. So Those of you, though, that are going to go, I say next door, just out the door, Kendall's got something set up cool for you guys. Also, if you're already part of our team and you haven't seen what Kendall's doing, I'm cool with you going over there too. All right? So you guys go ahead and do that. Now, if you've already seen what we're doing or have not seen what we're doing, stay here. Okay? All right? All right, we're going to have fun too. All right. I think we got most of those folks out there so we can shut the door and not interrupt each other. That'll be cool. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to play a video for you. It's short. We'll probably joke about it a little bit. But I want you to watch it. When it's all done, I just kind of want to know from you guys, can you relate to this? Can you relate to it personally, and or can you relate to it because somebody you know might have had this happen to them? Okay?
Do this, Dad?
Stan, now more than ever, you need to understand the importance of saving money.
But Grandma said I could use this money to buy whatever I want.
Okay, next, please. Go on, Stanley.
I got a $100 check from my grandma, and my dad said I need to put it in the bank so it can grow over the years.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check in a money market mutual fund. Then we'll reinvest the earnings into foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
What's all gone?
The money in your account. It didn't do too well. It's gone.
What do you mean? I have $100.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
Well, what can I do to get back
I'm sorry, sir, but this line is for bank members only.
I just opened an account.
Do you have any money invested with this bank?
No, you just lost it all.
Then please stand aside for people who actually have money with us. Next, please.
Hey!
Hello, Mrs. Farnickel. How are you today? Making a deposit, are we? Great. We can just put that into your retirement account and make it go to work for you, and it's gone.
What?
Sorry, yeah, that's gone. Please step aside for people who actually have money with the bank. Next, please.
Dad!
Hey, I'm trying to teach my son the importance of savings. You already lost his money? Oh, Mr. Marsh, don't worry. We can just transfer money from your account into a portfolio with your son, and it's gone! This line is for people who have money with the bank only. Please step aside.
Can anybody relate to that? I shared this to have a little fun, to joke around, right? Although for some of you, this isn't really that funny, if it happened to you, right? It could be funny now, depending on what's going on in your life, right? But I shared this with you, and here's why I wanted to share it with you, besides having a little bit of fun. Let's talk about real estate investing here for a moment. If I had, because I've had groups of people that I've spoken to that are 100 plus, right? And when anytime I get a big enough group, there's always going to be a few people out there that will kind of fit each of the categories. But for the most part, since we're a smaller group, I kind of doubt that there's anybody like this in the room, but maybe there is. And if there is, it's totally cool. Most people, once they decide that real estate investing might be a good idea, right? And nobody's in here because you're not interested in real estate investing, right? Or else there wouldn't be any point in being in the room with us tonight. But how many of you, when you were growing up, let's remember back to when we were little kids, right? And let's say we were out in the playground or wherever, over at our friend's house. How many of us, when we were little and we were doing make-believe, how many of us played make-believe, and when we were thinking about when we grew up what we wanted to be, how many of us were playing make-believe that we were real estate investors? Was anybody, I don't know, were you? When you were a little kid and you were growing up? What?
Played Monopoly, of course.
You played Monopoly, But as a little kid, yeah, you didn't know it was real estate investing. But when you're a kid, right, what is it? A fireman, a spaceman, a nurse, so this, right? In other words, we didn't grow up, typically, unless we grew up in a family of real estate investors that were very successful, and we got to see that lifestyle because we were living it. We didn't grow up with real estate investor on our radar, did we? Real estate investing came into the radar at a different point of our life. Some of us earlier than others of us. Some of us, the idea of being a real estate investor came into our life a long time ago. We just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. That's actually way more common, right? But real estate investing isn't something, there's always, if I had 100 plus people here, there'd be somebody that's totally interested in real estate investing because they love houses. They just dig houses. They're the person that would walk through a house and go to open houses and go to new builds and everything just for fun, right? Not to make money or anything. I mean, they'd be happy if they did. But they're so excited about houses. And there's probably, if I had 100 people in the room, there'd be at least 1 or 2 people like that. For most of us, though, real estate investing, at least in our minds, it's a means to an end. Maybe it's a way for us to make sure that it's not gone, right? Maybe it's a way for us to increase our income. Maybe it's what we feel that we could use so that we can retire without taking a cut in our lifestyle. Maybe we're actually doing really well financially right now, but we understand that maybe when we go to stop doing what we're doing right now, that we're going to end up taking a pay cut. Not a pay cut per se, but the amount of money we get to live on a monthly basis might go down, right? And we don't like the idea of having to cut back just because we got older. Can anybody relate to any of the stuff I just said? Is that actually probably more of the reason that real estate investing would interest you? Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because the important thing to understand about any venture you get into, whether it be real estate investing or any type of business, is will it get you to an end goal? And the main thing is you have to have some kind of end goal in mind, or at least a lifestyle that you want to live, to be able to evaluate if what you're looking at would actually possibly get you there, okay? I'm going to actually share something with you. I'm going to share another video with you. It's going to be a little bit longer. Normally, what's on this video is something that I've presented live for a long time, myself and my partners. However, here's the interesting thing about when I've done it live. First of all, I tend to go longer. Because when you're live, there's a little more interaction, which is always cool and fun, but it makes things go longer, doesn't it? The other part about it is, has anybody in this room ever been to a presentation of some sort? And it doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be related to your hobby. It could be related to business. It could be you went to a church service that your spouse or significant other didn't attend that day, whatever it was. But you went to something and you started learning, and then you went to try and go home and tell your business partner or your spouse or your significant other what you just experienced, based on the person probably talking to you having years and years and years of experience doing what they're doing, and you're trying to take what you heard for about 20, 30 minutes and regurgitate it in a way that this other person, your significant other, spouse, or business partner would understand it. And then you get looked at like you got a big eye in the middle of your forehead. Has that ever happened to any of you? Does that kind of suck, and is that really uncomfortable? Because you're like, I'm not as stupid as I feel like I sound right now. I know what I saw, but they all look at you like you just saw a UFO, or you're claiming you saw a UFO, right? When you're like, I did not see a UFO. I saw, an F-16 jet go overhead. There's no flipping UFO, right? So the reason I'm actually going to play what I'm going to play for you is it's a recording of a webinar that one of my business partners, a different John, one of my partners over in Salt Lake did, I think May or June of last year. And it pretty much gives a great overview of what it is that we have to offer, and also how it applies to how you would be able to use it. Is that cool? It's only 38 minutes long, so I'm going to play it, one, because you don't have to hear me do it. Lets me be a little lazy. The other reason I'm going to do it is if you like it, which I think you will, and you feel like, golly, I wish so-and-so saw this with me today, but you couldn't get them to be here tonight because of scheduling or whatever, we could potentially give you access to share it with them. Does that sound cool? Then you don't have to sound like feel all weird or whatever, you could just go home and say, I saw something cool, and you could see it too. It's cool. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And then when we're done with that, I will come talk to you for a little bit. Oops, let's get this shrunken down and get it up.
All right. Hey, welcome. My name's John O'Neill, and I'm a real estate.
By the way, some people are note-taker type people when you learn things. If you're that type of person that likes to take notes, you're totally, obviously, people brought stuff to write on. I'm going to allow you to do something else, too, if you want to. Because sometimes you're trying to take notes, but maybe things happen or slides change, and you're like, and then you look up, and they change 3 times on you, and you're lost. If you have your cell phone with you, I am totally cool. I'm not telling you record the thing, but if there's any slide that you want to take a picture of so that you can remember what was shared and go over it again or share it with whoever you need or want to share it with, I'm totally cool if you take pictures of any of the slides you want. All right? And you probably will want to do that.
Entrepreneur based here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'd like to welcome you to the 4 pillars of epic wealth creation: how to begin to build wealth into your life through taxes, banking, real estate, and business. We're going to go through some fantastic information, and I can't wait to show you what we have to do. So make sure you get a pen and paper out, take some notes, write some of these things down on 2 basic concepts that we're going to cover. We're going to cover how to keep more cash flow in your life and how to build cash flow through real estate and business. And so let's just jump right into it. I'm excited to make this happen. This is me. I'm John O'Neill. I'm based here in Salt Lake. Like I said, it's my wife, Christina. I've been investing now for only about 5 years in my own real estate. For all of my life, I've been investing in real estate, and so have you. It just might not be real estate you own. But I started to learn how to flip houses, gain rentals, do creative acquisitions, raise money for purchasing real estate through self-directed retirement accounts about 5 years ago. I've bought over 19 properties. I've flipped 12 of them. I've averaged a net profit of almost $40,000 each, which is about what I used to make swinging a hammer for a living as a contractor. I started in construction trades when I was 13. I built up my business, and that was fantastic for a while. And then the crash happened. And then we also experienced some major medical setbacks as a family, and we found ourselves broke, living out of my sister-in-law's basement when about 6 years ago now, with 8 suitcases to our name. And so I had to restart. I was roofing people's homes for $12 an hour. And when I began to learn about real estate was through the system I'm about to show you right now. I've been able to, like I said, acquire a lot. I now have a passive income of almost $30,000 a month. I'm 34 years old. Based here in Salt Lake, and the best thing about that is I've helped a lot of other people learn how to gain access to systems that produce revenue into their life. And so that's what I'm here to share with you, not just my journey, but how I've accomplished what I have through these concepts. Here's some of what I've been able to do with it. These are some of the houses I've been able to acquire. The very first deal I ever did was a short sale. I didn't even know what that meant. And it was negotiating with the bank to get the property short of what was owed on it. And I got it for $78,000. I funded that house with a self-directed retirement account from a remodeling client of mine. I gave him a 12% return on his investment and secured that in first lien position on the house. And then I sold the house for about $140,000 and netted $37,000. He made $5,600 tax-free, and I was off and running. That's how I also did my next roughly 4 deals, was through those types of capital, other people's money. And then I've learned some creative strategies that I want to share with you, like the one in the corner right there, which was one of the best that I've done, where I was actually able to net a check of over $82,000 on that house. That was a good one. It was a good day. It's twice what I used to make in a year. And that was through a for sale by owner that I got that home here in Utah in Sugar House. I negotiated seller financing on that. The one down there in the corner, this is the check I made on that one. I subdivided the land, sold the lot next door, and made about $92,000 in a day on that one. And the last one, in the bottom left, is a house I did in Tooele, where the lady was actually behind on her mortgage. I caught her up and I stepped into her home subject to the existing loan that she had. And it's one of my favorite strategies. It's called subject to. Write that down. We'll talk about that a little bit, how you can step into an existing person's financing or mortgage and take over their payments and own the house and end up being able to leverage that home for rentals or a fix and flip. So right there, that's, around $220,000 in net income I've made just this last year. And those are some of the properties I've been able to do. Like I said, though, I haven't been doing it forever. And if you want to learn to do real estate investment like that, you've got to invest first here. You've got to gain some knowledge. And so what you are about to learn is, first of all, how to keep more cash flow in your life through taxes and interest, how to recover it. And then secondly, how to build it by learning to find all the money you need to invest in real estate, regardless of where your credit is right now, and being able to use a fantastic velocity banking strategy that we teach that helps people to do it. So I hope you're ready. Hope you're buckled up. And if you are, do this for me wherever you're at. If you're ready, say ready. Okay, I'm just going to assume that you said that because we're going to dive right into it. Okay, cool. So the first pillar is taxes. The reason we talk about taxes first is it's the first and largest expense in your life. More than food and clothing and shelter and entertainment, the rest of your life you will pay in taxes. The saying goes, death and taxes. So let's talk about it for a second. It's a really important pillar of understanding how to build wealth. How do you keep more in your own life and stop paying so much in taxes? Well, the first and number one rule is to be a business owner, right? Don't just be an employee, because you don't have choices on how you take in your income. And people pay a lot more in taxes on income that they take in that is earned income than they take in on income that they take in through passive real estate strategies and business. So we're going to dive into that and talk about that. The second pillar we're going to talk about, a pillar of building wealth. And when I talk about wealth, by the way, I'm not just speaking about wealth of money. I'm not just talking about how much money you have in your bank account. I'm talking about wealth of time. I'm talking about wealth of lifestyle, wealth of relationship, wealth of network. I'm talking about how do you design your life so that you control it. Well, first, learn to recover cash through paying less in taxes by being a business owner and real estate investor, accessing over 400 tax deductions instead of 15. And secondly, learn how to stop paying so much interest on the loans in your life, on your student loan, your car loan, and your mortgage loan. Literally a strategy that will show you mathematically how to pay those loans off in 1/10 of the time by using money differently. So I'm going to dive into that. And then real estate. So you're all investing in real estate. I guarantee it. I promise it. No doubt about it. It might just not be real estate you own. I never owned or bought a house before I was 28 years old. My financial philosophy growing up was to work hard and save money. And that's all I knew. That's what I was taught. And that led me to being totally broke at the age of 28, never buying a home. I've now bought a lot more because I learned a new financial philosophy, and it was around real estate and business. It was how to learn to leverage something else besides my time, learn to leverage other people's money, other people's credit, other people's energy, and be able to put that together so that I could, now I have passive assets that put money into my life, whether I'm working for them or not. I get paid when I sleep, and I love teaching people how to do that. So that's why you're here, hopefully. Write this down as one of the first things to put down. If you want to increase your money, increase the value you bring for it. See, money is just a receipt for value that you bring. And so the value I used to bring was I swung a hammer. I could build you a house, and I had to trade my time to do that. And now I've increased my value, and I bring it to the marketplace and teach other people how. And even though I don't have a college degree, it totally works. So I've got a couple people joining. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm going to make sure that we keep this flowing really good, and let's jump into it. Welcome, 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 welcome. Taxes, banking, real estate, business. Okay, here's the problem. This is a problem. And if you don't plan, then this is where you end up. People don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. The average 65-year-old has less than $27,000 in their retirement account. People that build up nest eggs, they run out of eggs. But people that buy chickens will give them an egg every day. What do I mean by that? The 40-40-40 plan is broken. It's work from the age of 25 to 65, and you used to get a pension, but you don't anymore. You fight traffic, you have a boss, you don't have control of your life. If you're in that place, then we have a better plan for you. We lay it out through what we do and how we do it. Here is the basic understanding of how you can make income. Be an employee, you can trade your time for dollars. You can be a small business person, and you are somebody that gets leveraged to make that money. You can be a business owner and have a franchise system that makes you money, or you can be an investor, make your money work for you. As an employee, you only have about 15 deductions. As a self-employed individual, you understand that as a small business owner, the minute you remove yourself from the business, it's basically over. When I was a remodeling contractor, as soon as my son was in the hospital, I wasn't there with him. The money wasn't coming in like it was previous to that, right? We'll get more into detail on some of that here in a second. But what I want to show you is a business system that has put over $1.4 million into my life in the last 3.5 years, and how I've learned to use my own funds as well as other investors' funds to leverage more into real estate and be able to do that. So we're going to jump right into that, and it's going to be fantastic. So here's one of the first things you need to know. You're welcome to take screenshots of this stuff. An income statement and a balance sheet is at the basic understanding of cash flow. So cash flow is simple. You either have a poor way of handling cash flow, which is just you make it and you spend it. That is a poor cash flow. You get cash and it flows out. Simple as that. The next way is a middle class thinking around cash flow, which is to make money, then buy something on credit that's shiny or nice or something that you want. It creates an expense in your life and then you pay for it. The last way of cash flow is a wealthy way to address cash flow, which is to make money, buy an asset which puts more money into your pocket, and then you get to then pay for your expenses. So literally, there's nothing wrong with having the nice car, the Porsche, whatever it is that you desire. It's to have the apartment building or the rentals first that pay for those things. The wealthy have been doing that for years, and they leave clues. If you want to get somewhere in life, simply find someone that is where you want to be and learn from them, right? Because the day you stop learning is the day that you die. So if the wealthy 1% in this country have mainly built their wealth through business and real estate, you should give it a shot. Simple as that, okay? You can do it other ways, but the best way is that big green chart right there. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna teach you how to take a problem and bring a solution to it, because that's the number one thing you need to do as an entrepreneur and a real estate investor, be a problem solver. So I'm gonna solve the problem of this be in your life. By the end of this webinar, it will look a lot more like this if you listen to some of the things that I teach, right? Very simply, how to keep more because of tax and interest strategies. So the first thing you need to know to keep more of the money you pay in taxes is how are you making that money? If you're making it as an employee and that is your only designation, then you have no choice. You are in a 30% income bracket where they're taking the tax out of your check before it even gets to you. Have you ever noticed when you work that hour at the job and you risk that hour of time, your reward is a paycheck, but you don't even get the full paycheck. They take something out of it before you even get access to it. And then you pay for all of your stuff like I used to in after-tax dollars, right? I have a cell phone, I have children, I have cars, I have all those types of things. I pay for all of them through my business. That's what a business owner does. And if you want to be a business owner, all you've got to do to start a business is simply become startup mode, right? So you can say after me right now, if you want to start a business, literally say after me, I'm a business owner. That's all it takes. Start keeping track of the expenses of your business. So 54 cents a mile for every mile that you drive. If you have a cell phone, if you have a computer, if you have a small home office. I happen to have children. I pay my children through my business. You can pay your kids up to $6,300 a year with no W-2 or 1099 issued to them, and you can write that off as a business expense. I'm a family man. I live here in Salt Lake. I love my family. It's why I do what I do. But we don't take vacations in the O'Neill family. We take business trips, right? And they happen to be to great places like Cancun, Mexico, and Hawaii. And we have a lifestyle that's very different than others simply because I get to pay for all those things as a business expense rather than out of what's left over. And I pay income taxes on what's left over. Now, property taxes I pay a lot of, and I agree that you should pay property taxes. They go to fund schools and police and fire and bridges and infrastructure. But income taxes, they don't pay for a whole lot in our society. I don't think the government's doing a great job with them. So I choose to keep as much of that in my life as possible and give back. So you can pay taxes on 20% that's left over or 6%. If you want to become a business owner, you're going to open up a 30% pay raise to yourself just simply by tax deductions right there. The second strategy we cover on keeping and recovering cash flow is velocity banking. This one will blow your mind. You've never seen this before, so pay attention. All right. The first thing I want to lay out is that the average household around the country makes about $5,000 a month. You might make more, you might make less, but we're just going to base what you do with that money, what is your cash flow and how you treat that money to see how you can recover more cash flow and use that to pay down your debt quickly. Here's what I want you to write down around this concept. You ready for it? Write this down. This is super important. If there's only one concept you take from me, it's this one right here. The wealthy use credit as leverage. We learn to leverage credit rather than our own time to acquire more. So we use credit as leverage, and then we use cash as velocity to pay that credit down. So let me show you what I mean by that. So the first thing is, let's lay out the basic family. They make $5,000 and they put it in their checking and savings account. Why do we put it in a checking and savings account? Because that's what the bank told us to do. Who do you think that benefits the most? You or the bank? Probably the bank. That's where we learn about banking, is from them. And I guarantee you their buildings are bigger than yours. So they want you to put it in checking and savings, because when you put it into savings, they go get like $11 more from the Federal Reserve for every dollar you put in savings. And they loan it back to you at 6%, even though they're giving you 1% in your savings account, which doesn't even keep up with inflation. It's insane. So take the 5. Here's what you do with it. You put it in the checking account and you pay for the mortgage. You put it in the checking account and you pay for the cars. You put it in the checking account and you pay for your, your emergency credit card over here that you ran up on credit because you had an emergency, right? So then you've got another $600 that goes to, $1,200 that pays for gas, groceries, utilities, and all that stuff. And then whether or not you understand it, you are saving, and it might be in a savings account. It might be in a 401k, which averages a 3% rate of return. If you don't even count the fees, 401ks are a joke. Or you might be saving it by giving it to the government, and they give it back to you in the form of a refund in February after you gave them an interest-free loan for a year. So one way or the other, you're putting that money aside. And so I'm going to show you the biggest problem with that is your cash flow is zero. Zero cash flow, that's the problem. And that is a financial model that is not worth investing in. Let's fix it. So the way to fix this model, this is a problem. Let's talk about fixing it in your life right now. The first thing that you need to understand about a line and a loan is that they're different. They're both bank products, but they're different in the way they are treated. So a loan is something that has a payment that goes into it, and it locks that payment up, and you cannot re-access that payment unless you sell that house or sell that car or refinance it. That's the only way you can access that payment. It is goes in and you can't get it back. A line, however, the minute you make a payment on a line of credit, whether it be a credit card, whether it be a home equity line of credit, business line of credit, you can access that payment immediately, and you can swipe that card or that line to buy the things that you need in your life. So it allows you access to it, which is incredibly important. The second biggest thing that is a difference is that with loans are amortized, and they have a schedule of payment. And that payment every month is the same. It says you're going to pay this much in interest and this much in principal reduction. And then next month, you're going to pay this much in interest and this much in principal reduction. And it goes down on a schedule, on a car loan schedule of 6 years, on a student loan schedule of 40 years, on a mortgage schedule of 30 years. That's the schedule, and it doesn't change. Okay. Lines change every day when a payment is made, because it's based on daily simple interest. The minute you make a payment on a line, it reduces your balance and you pay less in interest. Interest is the second biggest cost in your life, and here's why. I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to give you the option. If I were to loan you 10 grand, would you want to pay me 21%, or would you want to pay me 6%? It's up to you. I'll let you choose. Choose quickly. And as you do that, I want to ask you, which of these is hotter, 32 degrees or 1 degree? Well, which is hotter now? 1 degree Celsius is hotter than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, even though it's a smaller number. And this is the reason I make this analogy, is I want you to know the banks are doing this to you in a loan structure. A loan is a very expensive way to borrow money compared to a line. And so this is why. They amortize a loan on a schedule. And because they amortize it, they can front load all of the interest to the front of it. That big red arc, that's front loaded interest. So literally when you get a car loan, student loan, or mortgage loan, and you begin paying on it, the majority of your first payments are interest. And if you play that out and you buy a $200,000 house, you make a payment every month for 360 months, you'll still pay double what you bought the house for. Okay, that's a problem. But even bigger than that is this problem right here. The average American either sells the home or refinances every 56 months. If you take this out 56 months, this is how much you're paying for $13,000 of principal reduction on your mortgage. You're paying $54,200 in interest. Does that look like 6% to anybody else? No, because it's not. It's literally like over 300% interest, because people stay in this cycle of refinance every 56 months. And then people will pay for their colleges from their home. They'll pay for their cars from their home, and they'll refinance it into the loan, which is the highest interest you could ever pay is in a loan structure. Even if you didn't refinance, you would still pay $232,000 in interest for that loan. It's incredibly high. So there's a way to fix it, and let's show you how. The first thing that you need to do is treat your cash differently. Make a different choice with it. It's what wealthy people have learned to do, and what I'm going to encourage you to start doing as well. The first choice you're going to make is bypass the checking account, put all of your income onto your debt, and then stop putting your money in the savings account where it gives you less than a 1 point in interest. If it starts with a point as an interest rate, here's a maximum. If it starts with a point, it's pointless. All right? Just trust me on that. So we're going to recover $2,000 of cash flow into your life by 2 simple steps. You're going to bypass your checking account, put it all onto your debt, and then you're going to stop savings in that account. Now, I do want you to have money set aside for an emergency. Like, I've got my money set aside in my safe. It's next to my guns. If the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm down. I'm ready to go, right? But other than that, I don't save as a way for investment in a banking account, because my money is not doing anything for me in there. If you're putting it in an account, in a savings account or 401k, and it's not even keeping up with inflation, the cost that things will cost, then it's doing you no good. So I put it all on my very high interest debt. And here's how I do that. You're going to take all of your income. How much of it? All of it. This is the only way this strategy works, and put it straight to your credit card. And you're literally going to slam $5,000 down on your credit card. Now, in this scenario, you still have $3,000 of expenses. So $5,000 goes in, the $2,000 of discretionary income sits on the line and works for you every day to reduce how much interest you're paying. And that's month 1. All right, month 2, you do it again. You slam it with $5,000. You know, maybe you get paid twice a month or 4 times a month or 8 times a month like me, whatever. And it slam it. And then you pay your bills from the credit card. You can pay a mortgage from a credit card. You can connect it to PayPal. You can get a balance transfer check and write checks if you need to. But the majority of costs in your life, you can swipe a card for. Let's say in month 3, you actually have an emergency. An emergency is a tire blows on your vehicle, and you've got to get $1,000 worth of tires. Well, can you use your credit card to do that? Yes, you can access the principal you've paid down because it's in a credit card. And you could not do that if you just slammed your mortgage with your savings. You couldn't access your mortgage to pay for those tires. That's why we use the line of credit. So 2 things you can use your line of credit for other than debt reduction are assets, to purchase assets, or emergencies. Those are the only 2 things in this scenario. Now, also, month 3, month 4, you're going to notice a couple other things happen. When you hit your credit lines with multiple payments a month, your credit score is going to go up. They like that. And the other thing is the bank is going to give you a credit limit increase. They've never given me a savings increase, but they've given me lots of credit limit increases as I've used it better, and they give me more. It's an interesting thing. So just using that basic scenario, you pay off $13,000 of credit card debt in 6.5 months, slamming all of your debt, using all of your income 24/7 on your line. Very simple. It's math, not magic, right? So now you're going to take a $13,000 payment from that credit card, and you're going to put it onto your mortgage. And here's what's going to happen. You put it down on your mortgage, and then it gets paid down over the next 6.5 months. Well, how much does that cost you to reduce your mortgage by $13,000 in principal? It costs you $1,365 if you have a 21% mortgage, 21% line of credit. So let me make this clear. You're going to credit card your house. Yes, you are. Even at 21%, you take the math, $13,000 in principal payment. You times it by 0.21. That's the percentage rate. So can you get a credit card for less than 21%? Yes, of course you can. I like to underpromise and overdeliver. So even at 21%, you only pay $1,365 in interest to pay down $13,000 of principal on a line. On a loan, once again, it would take you 6 times as long, 8 times as long, 8 times as long, and it would cost you $54,000 in interest to pay down $13,000 in principal. So you get to choose. But every time you take a chunk from your line and chunk it towards your loan, you're going to cut off, in that scenario, you're going to cut off about 4 years off your mortgage. You're going to save yourself $54,000 in interest, and you're going to, you're going to accelerate how quickly you pay your debt down. You can literally pay off a 6-year car loan in 1 year. You can pay off a 30-year mortgage in 3 years simply by using your cash differently, converting it to a line and then applying that line to slam down the principal. It is a phenomenal strategy. Let's just play it out. Let's say that you do that 7 to 10 years later based on this, but it can be shorter than that. You pay off the mortgage. You totally pay off the house. Then you pay off the car, and then you have more cash flow. Well, with cash flow, wealthy people use cash as velocity. So you've got to get more debt. That's the problem. So let me establish something. There is good debt and there is bad debt. Bad debt costs you money. Good debt brings in cash flow. So I have about $1 million in debt right now in real estate that brings in cash flow that pays all my bills. I'm semi-retired at 34 because there's people out there paying down my mortgages and my rents, and those properties are not over leveraged. So that's a really good place to be. How did I get there? I learned some things. So here's one of the things I learned. When you pay down that home, you can leverage that home with a line of credit called a home equity line of credit. You can get an 80% home equity line of credit. Let's just call it, 160 grand. Buy 6 rentals with it. The average rental needs to produce at least $400 in cash flow for it to make sense for you. Add that to the bottom line of $3,800 in cash flow plus $2,400 in cash flow. Your lifestyle is still the same. Then you just apply that to a rental and you pay off one rental every 1.6 years with that cash flow. So just simply take your debt, divide it by your new cash flow, and that's how quickly you pay things off using this strategy. It's amazing. And it works. It's very, very cool. Then we just take that, and if you just play that out in the next 5, 6, 7 years, you have almost 10 grand a month coming in passively on paid for real estate. That's how wealthy build wealth, and that's how you can do it too. So that is a plan. It's a fantastic one. It's one I'm currently doing, and I understand for some of you guys it can feel like this right now, and that's okay. It's a bit of a fire hose. It's meant to be that way because I want to refer to where I learned all of this and how you can access this education, how you can get this type of knowledge to apply into your life. You're not going to get it from a 45-minute webinar with me, but you can access it through what our company provides, which is an epic solution to the problem of the 40-40-40. We have education. That education is online. It teaches you real estate and wealth management from people that have done it. So we have over 52 full-day classes in real estate investment that teach short-term and long-term strategies, including velocity banking, including some of the tax strategies I shared with you, and then how to acquire real estate. Properties and how to acquire them are very simple. You have to find, fund, hold, and sell. That's what you need to do. You can find a property with a realtor and fund it with a bank and hold it for 30 years and then sell it to your kids. You can find it through a for sale by owner. You can fund it with retirement account money. You can hold it for 60 days and flip it for profit. There's many ways that you can do real estate, and we teach them all, plus how to begin to build wealth consistently. We have a phenomenal income system that is a business and is available to you within this program, and then a community of people. So we're nationwide. I'm based here in Salt Lake, but we have communities all around the nation where people gather on a weekly and monthly basis and talk about and go through this education, and it's phenomenal. So this is our product. We have classes on real estate investment, and they cover all topics real estate related. Fix and flip, short sales, lease options, apartment buildings, tax liens, lots of different things. One class that I learned that taught me how to raise all the money I've ever needed was from a lawyer named Matt Sorensen that teaches for us, and he teaches self-directed retirement accounts. And I learned these 2 questions in Matt's class, which have helped me raise over $4 million in capital to buy homes for cash. Very simply put, it's these 2 questions. Did you know you can invest in real estate with your retirement account. Most people don't know they can do that. You can. There's a self-direction process to be able to grow your retirement account tax-free or tax-deferred. For those of you guys that have ever heard of the presidential nominee, Mitt Romney, back in the day, he had over $30 million in his retirement account. And he didn't get that by funding $6,500 a year. He got that because he self-directed his retirement account into business opportunities, into real estate, and allows it to grow tax-free, and your kids can inherit it. What I ask of people, and I'm not asking any of you, I'm not raising anyone's funds, I'm just an investor, I ask them for a loan from their retirement account. I secure that loan in first place position on the home, which is where banks secure their loans. And so that person has a very secure rate of return on a property, and they love it. They get to grow their retirement accounts tax-free. And I learned that in that class right there on self-directed retirement accounts. I learned about velocity banking in that class right there. It's about 6 hours long. It's phenomenal information online 24/7, lifetime education. It includes over 52 full-day classes taught by our investor instructors. They're practitioners at what they do. We have over 20 of them, and they're experts in their arena. So the individual that teaches our lease option courses have been doing lease options for 37 years. Our fix and flip instructors have flipped over 200 homes in the last 3 years. Our short sale instructor, he was just here in my market talking about one specific strategy called subject to, which blew my mind, that you can step into somebody's mortgage subject to their credit, and they'll sign the title of the home over to you through a seller finance. Then you can sell the home, you can rent the home, you can refinance it into your name because you have ownership. You can get a HELOC on it and buy more. It's amazing what's possible to do. And you just don't know what you don't know until someone tells you or teaches you. And this is the best system I've ever seen for teaching what we do, because it's constantly updated. Our multifamily classes, it's kind of like apartment buildings, and it's taught by Johnny Dessauer. He has over 4,000 units, makes over $100,000 a month, and teaches you how to do it. Notes, deeds, and liens. Tax liens are a phenomenal way to pick up property. You can get a guaranteed 12% rate of return, but the number 4 note buyer in the whole country teaches for us, and it's phenomenal. Commercial real estate and tons of bonus tracks for a total of 52 full-day classes in real estate that you get for a lifetime. We continue to add to it, update it, and continue to renew it. So it's now 52. It's phenomenal. With it, you also have some tools that you're going to need. Our software system is second to none in pulling data on properties in your neighborhood. I quickly pulled the pre-foreclosures in my neighborhood here in Salt Lake. There's over 16,600 people behind on their mortgage currently right now. There are plenty of deals out there if you know where to look and you know what knowledge to bring to those deals. So you've got to gain that knowledge. Someone's got to teach it to you, and you get to be mentored and facilitated through that knowledge. And the cool thing about us and what we do is that we're nationwide, over 20,000 students. We've been around 6.5 years. We're the best at what we teach, and we tell you what the investment is right up front, because you're an adult. I'm an adult. You'll know the full investment right now. It doesn't change, and you can determine that's what you pay for it. What it can cost you out of pocket is literally nothing. With the investment that I made over $1.4 million. Here's one of my students. His name is Nate. He lives here in Salt Lake as well. He was a psychology professor that has a PhD, and he only made $30,000 a year. Now he consistently makes $30,000 a month, and he's killing it. This is one of his deals. This is my friend Dane. Dane was 22 years old when I met him. He's now 24, and he was a roofer like me. This was his very first deal, and that's the kind of profit he made. We literally have hundreds of success stories, mine included, but lots of students all around the country doing deals and making things happen. Our full investment, what you pay for this education, lifetime, 52 classes, is $19,994. That's the price. What it costs you is literally nothing out of pocket if you apply it in the tax strategy and the interest saving strategy, and what you can do with it is phenomenal. It includes everything that we've got. Coaching, all of it. There's not more to buy. One-time price point, $19,994, is phenomenal, right? With it, you get a ton of support. Webinars, group coaching, one-on-one coaching, education weeks, new classes, updated. We support you with fix and flip house tours in your local community, where we have community members doing this, applying this education and making it happen, monthly workshops, and tons of other things that you could not even access all the support that we have for you. Here's a couple of ways where it literally can cost you nothing out of your pocket. What you pay is this, what it can cost you is zero, right? That's the difference. This education hasn't cost me a dime. And one of the reasons why is it was a full tax write-off against my current income. I actually got a tax refund when I purchased this education because I was running a remodeling company. I started flipping houses. I made 37 grand on my first flip, paid back my education, and I got to write it off in taxes too. The second one is if you ever do a deal with us, which you will do, if you plug in and you learn what we know and you come and do it with us, we teach you these formulas and you write into the formula at least a $20,000 profit. And that's your full, you know, when I'm talking about going to school at a college for the next 6 years and getting into $62,000 of debt, and on average, the college graduates come out making $38,000 a year. We're talking about investing in yourself in wealth knowledge taught by experts that will get you in a place where you're making checks like this very, very quickly. It's fantastic information. A 401k is a great way to fund your education. You can literally fund it from yourself by borrowing up to 50% of what you have in there, paying yourself back the 5% interest instead of the bank. If you got a car loan that you're paying interest on, then borrow from your 401k, take back your control of your life, get your education, start applying this, pay yourself back 5% instead of the bank making so much money on you, right? Apply the education and keep it rolling. You can use that 401k for your first deal to do the rehab or to do the fix and flip. Credit cards is actually how I was able to get the education with no money out of pocket. I had decent credit, above 680, and I applied for 3 cards. I bought the education just with the velocity banking concept alone. You can literally pay that off in 10 months. If you get that at a 0% rate, which is what I did, 18 to 24 months, then bam, your education costs you nothing. You've got it for a lifetime and you're off and running. And if we can show you how to buy a home for 200 grand, trust me, we can show you how to get this education. This is one of my favorites. It's literally to take all of your debt, put it in a line, and then divide that by the new cash flow in your life and be able to pay it off super quickly. And here's how that would work. If you look at your different debts, if you look at your mortgage and your car and those things, then you have monthly costs on those things. If you take all of those expenses and you put it into one bucket, you can reduce your monthly cost by a significant amount, increase your cash flow, and then apply that to your new debt, including your education. You can pay it off in 3.5 years instead of 39. So those are just some strategies and ideas of how you can move forward, get this full investment, be able to achieve your dreams and what your goals are in real estate, recover cash flow through tax and interest strategies, build cash flow through real estate. And then we have a phenomenal business model. It is a system that personally has put over $825,000 now into my life. Yesterday, I got paid over 13 grand. It's a massively effective business nationwide that will plug you into and teach you and show you what we do, right? It's phenomenal. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We have mastermind calls, presentations, and we'll plug you into what we do and how we do it. It's phenomenal. I use that word a lot. But here's what I want to end with, and I want to ask you this question. Would you please answer this for yourself? When I have more than enough time and money, I will what? What will you do? When I have more than enough time and money, I will what? I'm asking you that question, and I want you to answer for yourself, because I want to ask you, how long do you want that to be a question? I now find myself at the age of 34 in a place where I can travel, I can give back to the people that I choose to, and I can be with my family. I have 4 beautiful kids. This is why I do what I do. What I do is simple. I invest in real estate. I build massive and passive portfolios in real estate, and I teach people how. I run a business system that produces income weekly into my life. And why I do it's right here. How I do it is with this system, and I invite you to come and do it too, right? So the next step is to be able to get back with the person that connected you to this webinar so that you can get access to a more in-depth look at your numbers, how to specifically set up a plan so that you can, in the next 30, 60, and 90 days, put that plan in place and begin to invest in real estate, and then be able to give you a free velocity banking calculator. So with that, you guys, I appreciate you being on this short webinar to get some information about what we do and how we do it. I invite you to follow up with the person that connected you to this webinar. I look forward to seeing you at our future events, whether it be online or the ones that we have live in person. And with that, have a fantastic night. This is John O'Neill signing out. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much.
See, that's better than me doing it. I don't know if it's better or not, but I like it better because I got to sit back and relax while my partner did it. So let me share a couple things with you. And actually, I have a feeling with those of you who are in the room right now, was velocity banking kind of a new idea? Right? For most people. Very few people have first of all, most people don't think about how mortgages work, right? Let me share something with you. Mortgage, do you know what that word actually means? It's actually split. It's an so more is death, and engage is an engagement. So basically, you're in an engagement till death. Did you guys get that? And it comes from Latin, right? The banks are brash enough to actually tell you what they're doing to you. No, I'm totally serious, right? They stick it right in our face, right under our nose, but because of how we're trained to live our life, it just shoot, and we go for it, right? So it's nobody in this room, it's not really our fault. We just go along with how society tells us to do stuff, that's all, right? And we don't know any better, and since everybody else does it, or at least we think everybody else does it, we go do it too, right? Is anybody, that refi thing they talked about, has anybody ever refied a house? Did you realize what you're doing to yourself until tonight? Probably not, right? Yeah. You essentially put yourself in a position where you maybe never own your home outright. For most people, that's true. The other part is you just pay more interest, and you get very little principal out of it. And because you keep refinancing yourself over and over and over again, or has anybody ever said, well, I'm going to refinance because I'm going to pay off something? I'm going to refinance my house to go pay off my car or my student loan or this, that, or the other, right? We didn't know what we were doing to ourselves. So one of the important things about how wealthy people become wealthy and stay wealthy is this isn't that much of a mystery to them. They just don't walk around telling you about it. It's not because they don't want you to know. They're not keeping it hidden. But what does society do for the most part to folks that are like very rich? Do most TV shows make fun of them? Right? Try and show people in a light that's kind of dim, right? I don't know about you guys, but when you think about this, and I'm not telling you that you need to have a lot of stuff in life necessarily, okay? I'm not telling you that to be happy or whatever. But if you poo-poo what's going on, let's think for a minute, okay? Let's take mega rich for a minute, okay? Mega rich. I'm talking like I own a jet rich. Not me, but I own a jet rich. And there are people out there that will demonize that person for spending that kind of money on a jet because there's so many hungry people in the world, right? We've done it too. We've done it too. Let's make up a figure of $10 million. Somebody actually spends $10 million on their own private jet, which they could spend more, they can spend less. They spend $10 million on their own private jet. Here's what we don't think about. Did that $10 million jet just materialize out of thin air? No. Did the person with the $10 million go out and build themselves a jet? No. How many people do you think got paid in the building of that $10 million jet? How many jobs did that one $10 million jet create? A lot, right? Because that $10 million went somewhere. It went to rubber manufacturers. It went to steel manufacturers. It went to electronics, right? It went to a lot of different people. So it's not necessarily bad to have money and go spend it on something. We kind of make fun of or laugh at people that do that kind of thing because we're like, if I had it, I would never do that. We judge. And as long as you're playing that game in your head, you're going to sabotage your chances of ever having something like that. And we all put a different judgment level on a different level of wealth and income of people. We do, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, we do. We have a limit that we think is too much. You know, for me, it might be if I want this type of vehicle or this type of house, and I set it at, well, if you want to live here in Southern California, it's going to be a couple $1,000,000 if it's going to be near the beach just to have one, right? Where that same house can be bought in the Midwest for $300,000 for that house. And if you want just an average house, you're still going to come up with nearly $1,000,000 if you want to live in Encinitas or La Jolla or something, right? Where in the Midwest, you could go buy that thing for $110,000, right? But here's the interesting thing. The person who spent $1,000,000 on the home that could be bought for $110,000 somewhere, when that $1,000,000 was spent, unless the person takes the proceeds from selling their house to someone for $1,000,000 and just sticks it in a mattress somewhere, it's probably going to go out somewhere else and do something, isn't it? Is it likely that that person gets that $1,000,000 proceeds from the sale of their home, that they're probably going to buy another one? Or if they choose not to, because maybe it was a vacation home, are they going to probably use that money for something else? Does that $1,000,000, when it gets spent on other things, create more jobs? Does it actually add to the economy? Right? So I'm sharing some concepts with you because I had to go through this change in thought process myself before I could receive a lot of money into my life. Because if I felt money was evil, and I don't want to be an evil person, then my subconscious is never going to allow me to have very much of it. Right? So, I'm not aggrandizing a rich person. I'm just saying a rich person is just a person with a lot of money. That's all they are. And the reason they have a lot of money is because they do things with their money like what we're talking about. So they keep more of it. It's also easier to become rich if you don't give so much of it to the government and pay so much in taxes. If you figure out how to pay off your mortgage in 3 to 7 years instead of 30 plus, how much money and interest did you probably save? Like if you hit 6% for 30 years, you pretty much buy your house twice. You buy your house twice, right? And I know we got a little math head over here because we had a conversation Saturday. Matter of fact, when you were watching this all clicked, didn't it? Yeah, I knew it. Okay, it was like boop, 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 boop. So everything he showed up there, does that make sense? He said that's math, not magic. It really is. Right. Yeah. So I'm gonna demo something for you here in a moment, and the demo is going to be about 13, 14 minutes long, and it's going to share with you. Some of you, when you came in at first, you saw like a video playing, right? But I'm going to demo something to kind of show you how the education's delivered. It's delivered live. It's also delivered recorded, depending on how you want to consume it. Okay. So I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But I'm also going to tell you and kind of differentiate how this works. Remember, I was kind of poo-pooing the seminar thing a little bit earlier, right? The reason for poo-pooing the seminar thing isn't, I'll tell you what, as companies, they're brilliant. They make a lot of money. The problem is the person at the end side of it that spent the money to learn how to do it, unfortunately, doesn't come out the other end knowing how to do it. For the most part. About 3 out of 100 actually do end up doing it after spending about $40,000 to $60,000 trying to learn how to do it. But it's not the $40,000 to $60,000 that makes it bad or wrong. If I spent $40,000 and it allowed me to make $200,000 over the next 12 months, would you guys laugh at me? No, you're just gonna laugh at me if I spend 40 and make nothing, right? So you wouldn't laugh at me for doing that. If I could show you, yeah, I spent 40, but I made 200, you'd think I'm an absolute genius. The reason I poo-poo it is this: it's not how we learn. We can only absorb so much in a seminar setting for 4 days straight, sitting in a seat for 12 hours. No matter how good the information is. And then to go out there and try and apply it, something that's totally new to us, and expect to actually have a bunch of success doing that, that's not going to happen. Okay? So I said we're a positive impact real estate investors group, right? Let me put the caveat that we're powered by Renatus. Okay? When I put together that mastermind team in Phoenix and taking people like Kendall, who I introduced you to tonight, let me put this out there to you. Kendall's done 350 plus flips. And he's willing to give 2 to 4 hours of his time a week. Is a good use of his time to be taking a brand new person, and I'm going to be facetious here, all right? But somebody that's so new that he has to go train them and say, first thing I need to teach you is real estate is 2 words. Is that a good use of somebody's time who's made millions of dollars? Huh? No, that's a terrible use of his time. That's a terrible use of it. If you got to only spend 2 to 4 hours with somebody, would you want and feel good about that person going, real estate is 2 words? Right? Bad use of his time. So here's what we use Renatus for. Renatus is the training platform we use to get people up to speed. So let me talk a little about what we did in Arizona for that mastermind study group for fix and flip and wholesale. We said, great, you are now students of the Renatus education. You're going to, this week, you're going to take the first class on fix and flip. It's about 8 hours long. We would like you to go through the first 4 hours of that class this week while you're away from us. Then you're going to come back and spend some time with us Wednesday night for about an hour and a half. And you're going to have gone through that 4 hours. Now I can put you with Kendall, and what can Kendall do? He can show you how to actually apply it and take action on it so you can go make money as a fix and flipper. That's how this works. So you go do some of this on your own. You come back, you get your questions answered because you need to know what you're doing, right? Make sure you get it. Answer questions, and also how does this apply right here, right now in my backyard? Not how does it apply in Texas, not how it applies in Florida. How does that apply in Murrieta? Right? Okay, great. And then for a little bit, you're going to do some of that. Just like you would in any type of trade school, you're going to go through some studying questions, and then what are you going to do? If you want to become a mechanic and start working on Porsches, are they going to give you, a Porsche on day 1 of your class and tell you to take the engine apart and put it back together? No, because whoever owns that Porsche will kill you, right? Because they're like, you got to be kidding me. No, you're going to study a little, ask questions, and then you're going to maybe come back the next week. If you're only going to spend 2 to 4 hours a week doing this, right? Then you'll come back maybe on week 3 or 4. You're going to have a tool in your hand, and you're going to be doing some work. But then the master mechanic is going to do most of the work. But you're going to watch them do some of it. And then they're going to say, okay, you do this while I do this. And you're working together, right? Do your thing. And then a week or 2 down the road, they're going to say, you know what? You're ready. You're going to do this half of the job. I'm going to do this half of the job. Does that make sense? Then what's going to happen is down the road, okay, you're going to do most of it. I'm going to put the cherry on top. Right? Okay, now you're going to study some more. You're going to come back, answer questions. Okay, you're going to take that motor apart and put it back together. I'm going to watch you do it. Does that make sense? And then he's going to say, next week, you're going to find a note there like Karate Kid. It's going to say, take the motor apart and put it back together. I'll check tomorrow and see if it runs. Does that make sense to you guys? But because you went through a process, that's why those 35 people in 5 months completed and got paid on 44 deals. Does that make sense to you guys? So we utilize the Renatus education process, which is the best that is out there, because it's up to date always and very, very, very comprehensive, not just how to do a deal, but how to run your real estate investing business like a full-blown company at some point that can continue to work so that you don't have to continue to work so hard yourself. That's how this works, okay? Totally different than a seminar company, but that's part of the requirement we have to have you work together with us, because we can't sit there and use our time well, because let's say Tony is a for instance, right? And Tony is like, okay, he's now part of the team, he's part of the mastermind, and he's like, I'm in, I've got the education, I did my 4-hour study this week, and he's good to go. But Matt doesn't have it. He goes, I want to be a part of this thing. I want to be a part of this mastermind study group. I want to work together with you. But Matt doesn't know squat. And he couldn't go home this week and study his 4 hours worth of stuff because he doesn't have it, right? And then Matt and Tony come together in this mastermind study group, and Tony's getting chomping at the bit. He's like, I want to do a flip as soon as possible. I want to put a check in my pocket, right? And Matt's showing up because he doesn't have this. And Kendall's up there saying, okay, here we go. And Tony asks a few questions to make sense. And Matt's like, and Kendall's like, yeah, Matt, could you repeat that? Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, good. Keep going. You're asking, you guys are interacting. Matt's like, hang on a second. What does that mean? You guys get this? At some point, Tony and Kendall, they won't necessarily say it to you, but their blood's going to be boiling a little bit. Because he's sitting here going, it's going to be another 3 weeks before we get around to doing a fix and flip, because Bozo over here is part of the team. You're not Bozo, but I can mess with Matt because he's part of the team, right? Because so-and-so, why do we even have people on the team that aren't getting up to speed like we are? Well, because Matt didn't want to buy it. But we said everybody can come in and do it. Would that make sense for us to run it that way? No, it makes no sense. Tony and Matt need to have the same system, process of learning, so that when we come together, we can train everybody up to be real estate investors. Does that make sense? Okay. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Because sometimes some people are like, but why won't you just teach me how to do all this? When I make money later, I'll pay you for the training you gave me that put the $100,000 in my pocket. You won't get there, because you will not find a successful real estate investor out there that's going to use their time to tell you that real estate is 2 words. Because they've already probably done that before. And they go, this sucks. Because I tried to tell my nephew how to do this thing, and my nephew wasn't committed. And they weren't in the process. There was no skin in the game. There was no true commitment, okay? I'm going to demo for you real quick here. Just a little bit, hang on a second here, of one of the classes, okay? Because I want you to see how it's delivered. So, first of all, I'm going to go over this tab that says education. If you look up on the board right there, do you see where it says live? Okay. Here's the coolest part about what we do. The education that we offer, the training that we have available to people, is always up to date. Do markets change in real estate? Do tax laws change in real estate? Right? Do you want to be going out there trying to do deals with information that used to be accurate? Not a good idea, right? Not a good idea. So you want to be up to date and accurate. What that live is up there for is two reasons. One, to let you know that when you have the education, they won't charge you any additional money. You can go physically live when they're actually doing a class and be there. And you don't spend any additional money for it. How cool is that? Anytime they update anything, they don't ask you for additional money. Too bad that doesn't happen on your Windows computer, right? Right, or your iPhone or whatever, right? Any updates that happen when you have the education, you don't pay for those updates. How cool is that? And you could do it live if you want to. The reason there's a live tab there is I want you to know there's live. Down there it says class registration. What does that mean? That's where you go to register, because about every 6 or 9 weeks they have live, because when we started in 2015, remember I said that's when we started our team over in Phoenix? They had 24 classes available. It was the same price, and we thought that was a stupid amount of education. We're like, that's way too much education. Like, you got a lot of stuff there. What did John say they now have? He said 52, didn't he? There's a problem with that number. That was recorded in June.
So now it's more.
We're about 60 now. How much more money have they asked us for once we've gotten the education? No extra money. The velocity banking thing that you saw, there's 2 classes. There's an intro one that you saw a few minutes of. It's about 7 hours long. Then there's an advanced one that's about another 7 hours. Could you imagine what you could do if you could take this inside and out and apply it to every type of real estate transaction you could possibly think of? What could be done? And you just saw, you didn't even see a class, you just saw somebody that's one of my partners, one of my team members, sharing with you a few things that he's done with it and how he shares it with other people, okay? But the class registration is so that you can say, I want to go see this thing live, and then you go in there and register yourself so they know how many people are coming, so they have the seats for you so you can be there. The live tab is, I want it up to date. I don't want to wait to see it. I mean, I will eventually see it because it'll be available to me once they edit it, but I want to be there when it's happening live. I just can't be there when it's happening live. So you hit the live button, and while the live classes are going on, you can participate. How cool is that? When you go under the essentials John was talking about, that's your foundational stuff. Think of that as like real estate investing entrepreneurship 100. Does that make sense? And then the AIT, that's an acronym for Accelerate Investor Training. Think of that as your majors. All right? But that's where once the classes have been done, they're available and archived for you so you can get to them 24/7, 365. And then when things change or need to be updated, like tax and legal or something like that, they'll get it as quick as possible, then edit it, and then it'll be available for you. Cool? I want to demo here. Anybody have any children? Or nieces and nephews? Okay, cool. I'm going to demo for about 13 minutes for you because I want to show you how this works. And we'll have a little bit of fun here.
Okay, paying family members. Love this topic. One of my favorites. And I've got some fun stories. Someone already asked, I've got to tell my story about Molly. She's my last employee at home, 13 years old, and I've been working her to the, fingers to the bone for years. And well, we'll talk a little bit about her. But all of my kids have been on payroll or are currently on payroll in one form or another. And for those that have children, this is a big deal. How many of you have kids here in the room? How many have kids that are under age 18? Okay, probably about a half of the room maybe. How many have kids over age 18 but act like they're under age 18? Okay, about another third of the room. How many have grandkids? Anybody with grandkids? Oh, okay, all right. Haven't seen your grandchild lately, but I love her. How's she doing? Awesome. Okay, good, good. Oh, is she? Mine's in Vegas. So it's good, good, good. fun. So anyway, we're going to talk about family members. And this is not just children. This could be nieces, nephews, grandchildren, parents, brother, sister. I had a doctor, gosh, this has been a few years back, but he came in and was like, Mark, I need to help my brother start a business, and I'm going to fund it with this. And my client, he's like an orthodontist. He's making bank, and he's just cranking along. And we're setting up this dumb business, really. I was kind of like, why are we doing this business? And he started to get choked up, and he goes, Mark, my brother has autism, and I need to help him be self-reliant, and I'm going to set up this business to fund it for him. And it was just so exciting, so inspiring. Of course, we made sure he got a great tax write-off. But anyway, it was still really special to have him help his brother. And so, guys, you're learning strategies here to affect your family as a whole. And if I can help you to pass on that legacy, it's a big deal. So here's the strategy. Here's the concept. Quit paying taxes and giving your family money. Put them on the payroll. Let them pay their own taxes. Give them a gift at Christmas called a 1099. They will love it. Let them pay their own taxes. They could be at a lower tax rate, and you gift them money to pay their taxes, and you're better off. Why pay taxes at your higher rate and give your family money? Let's get them on as a tax write-off. Help them build their credit. Help them start their own business. Get their involvement in the business. Teach them self-reliance. Oh, I've got a list here. I just want to kind of go through this. Help them become self-reliant. Teach them business ownership skills. Instill a concept of a job well done. Save money in the business without having to hire outside help. And it's money you were going to give them anyway. Teach them how to do a hard day's work if you're lucky. And guys, I'm going to just say it bluntly. If you're giving your family money without accountability and them earning it, you're hurting them more than helping them. Now, if they've got medical issues or autism or something and you've just got to help them anyway, I get it. But too many kids, too many family members in America right now are codependent on their parents because they won't let them fail. They've got to either earn it or fail. And they're not going to learn self-reliance until one of those two things happen. My wife's reading this amazing book on this, and I've got 3 kids in college and 1 in high school. And boy, you're in the thick of it at that time. You're trying to help get out the door, right? And learn self-reliance. Some of you may be in that situation where you're lucky and blessed that your family's helping you. Beat them to the punch. Show them you're self-reliant before they have to cut you off. Guys, this is a wonderful opportunity where tax strategies, again, can benefit you. So have that intervention with your kids. Go, hey, I was at this Mark Kohler seminar. We're going to set up a tax strategy. I need a tax write-off for you. And you're going to have to start earning this money. And if you don't, you're not getting paid because I'm not going to get audited by the IRS. Well, blah, 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 blah. No, it's up to you. You can either earn the money, here's your new job duties, or you get nothing. Your choice. Wow. Right? You know what I'm talking about, parents. You know what I'm saying. And that could be even a 7-year-old wanting a handout every week to go buy crap at the mall. Let's teach them how to earn it so that when they're 17 years old, you don't have a train wreck. The sooner you start, the better. I'm saying. Bam! Woo! Okay, so here's my employee of the month, Molly Kohler. I've kept that little sheet of paper for years. I talk about this on Saturdays. So some of you that are on a Saturday, you've heard me talk about this. This is actually Molly. This is when she was 8 years old. She was on the payroll. She was our paper shredder administrator. I came home one night and awarded Employee of the Month. She got her plaque. I put it on the wall, and I've kept that piece of paper for years. So that was in the corner of my office. Here's when all of your kids in this strategy, in order to set up the laundering business, in order to set up the family business, each kid has to have their own bank account. This is a great chance to go to the bank, show them how to get their own bank account. I remember this visit at the bank, almost every detail of it. It's one of my special memories of my life with Molly. Went to the bank, she got a tour of the vault, she got her first debit card, and I set her up. I'm a co-signer, so I can transfer money into her account and push money from my company to her and save taxes and teach her how to manage money. How many 8-year-olds know how to manage their own debit card, right? Now, I'm not saying it's perfect with Molly. We're still learning, but we're trying. Yeah, once in a while, she'll fall asleep on the job. She almost got fired for this one, so it's kind of a big deal. Okay, but anyway, now, here's the diagram. Now, with kids that are, let's do the under age 18 first. Now I'm going to go to a diagram here because it's, I'm going to go to the whiteboard because it's a little easier to explain. So if your kids are under age 18, now for some of you that don't have kids, be patient. Not every freaking strategy relates to you. It's not about me world, okay? Just hang tight for a minute, okay? You have 3 options to pay the kids. First, for all of you in the room that are at least a sole proprietorship, you're going to start making money and you're going to just put the kids on there as outside labor. Now this is under age 18 up to age 17. I don't put kids on payroll till they're about 6 years old. At that point, you can put them in the basement and they can polish shell casings with their pinkies. That's really good. Nike has an outreach program where they'll send you a tennis shoe in a box with a hot lamp, and you can give them a third world experience. It's really cool. So you can sign up for that program. It's really good. Okay, now the other, so pay the kids is outside labor, and you're going to just transfer money into their bank account. And they're going to help out with paper shredding, bookkeeping, teach your kids to learn QuickBooks. Wow. Scanning, filing, stuffing envelopes, cleaning the rental, fixing the rental, mowing the lawn of the rental. I mean, an 8-year-old with a weed whacker, there's nothing better, right? It's just beauty, right? Okay, so anyway, here you could also do a S Corp. For those that are S Corps, but we never pay the kids directly out of the S Corp. Not good. We create a management fee to a sole proprietorship, not an LLC. Not an LLC, just a sole prop. And you're going to set up a bank account down at the bank. I try to avoid a DBA. I call it Kohler Family Management, and Wells Fargo didn't require a DBA because my name's in it. And you just pay a management fee. Now, I had 4 kids when they were under age 18, funneling, let's see, $6,000 to Dylan. I think I was doing $5,000 to each of the twins and $2,000 to Molly. That's $18,000. Now, let me clarify a couple cool parts here. When I'm paying my kids under age 18, they don't even file a tax return if you pay them less than $6,300. No one pays taxes if you earn less than $6,300. Now, I want you to earn $6,300, but I don't need your kids to earn $6,300. Anything less than that, no tax return, no tax. Second, cool thing about this is when you pay your own kids, you don't have to hold SUTA, FUTA, FICA, or workers' comp. You don't have to withhold anything. You can slave labor your own kids. This is huge. Big deal. Now, the only state that has you pay workers' comp on your own kids is Washington. Go figure. I don't know what it is. Some kids sued their parents for pushing them down the stairs. Whenever I need an extra, Aflac payment, I just knock the kids down the stairs. Boom. Aflac pays 3 days later. But maybe that was turned into a workers' comp claim. I don't know. But anyway, it's one of those few weird rules. Okay, now, so I pay a management fee for my S Corp, and I can do it daily. I can do it weekly. Molly is playing volleyball this weekend. She'll probably text me and go, Dad, I need some money at the volleyball tournament. I'll transfer money from my S Corp to the sole prop into her bank account. Done. Where was it last weekend? Oh, my wife went with me to the Renatus Washington, D.C. workshop I did last Saturday. Was in Washington, D.C. And Molly stayed home with a babysitter, and I gave him some extra cash to cover some expenses while we were gone. We just did an online transfer, bink, bink, into Molly's debit card. So we got a tax write-off for the babysitter expenses while we were gone. See what I'm saying? Quit paying taxes and giving your kids money. Let them pay for their own soccer lessons, their own food, their own whatever. When my 2 girls went to prom, twins going to prom, it's pretty spendy. So I set a budget. I said, you got $200. Get your shoes, get your dress, you're good to go, right? Thank you. Another fellow dad appreciates that. Yeah, $200 does not cut it. I mean, Dad, I got to get nails. I got to get my hair. I need shoes. I need a dress. And I got to double down. Twins. I said, I got to get a write-off for this. So I told him, hey, if you're going to go to school, if you're going to go to prom, I want to make sure that you're getting, I'm getting a tax write-off for this. You're going to come by the office and help for a month before, you get paid. So they're like, okay. So they came by the office, did some jobs, and then when it was prom time, I transferred money, bink, bink, into their debit cards. They went to prom. I got a tax write-off for prom. See what I'm saying? Pretty sweet, right? Okay, their last option is you can pay your kids directly out of an LLC. So, but pay them out of a sole prop if you have an S corp. Pay them out of a sole prop directly, or pay them out of an LLC. Okay, so you only need the family management company if you have an S corp. If you don't have an S corp, I don't care. But the S corp cannot pay the kids directly, so that's why I do the sole prop. Any questions on paying kids under age 18? Yes.
Is this a strategy you can use for nieces and nephews?
Yes, so you don't have any children?
No,
under
no
age
children.
18?
I'm not on taxmatch.com yet.
Did you catch that? No kids under age 18. You're okay, just make a note. Okay. No, you cannot do it with nieces and nephews because they're not your children. So you have to withhold pseudo FICA. You got to do a W-2. Ugh. But hang tight. You're going to adopt the grandchild strategy. I know she's adorable. She doesn't have grandkids. Hang tight. But you're going to use the grandchild strategy. So coming in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the next option is if you have kids 18 or over. That's 18 and older. Oh, one more follow-up on this. Yes. Hey, I like this. Speaking for the crowd on the left over here. All right. Okay.
Okay, so you had the kids capped at certain incomes before, so they didn't have the W-2s and so forth. But as you're funneling things through for prom, is that part of that money, or is that some other expense category?
No, I still call it outside labor because they're just like a vendor, a contractor. You're going to always call it outside labor. I don't call it prom expense. I just pay them outside labor. They take it into their personal account, and boom. Now, I've got a strategy here that's going to blow your mind. I'm taking it to the next level.
So anyhow, whoever's watching the video probably are like, so anyhow, we're going to end this right now, but I want to do something real quick. Everybody, please pull out your cell phone.